Greetings, folks. Oh, it's Gracie and I here again. I'm here with the cat. She's down here on the floor. Today, I'd like to discuss a little bit more about horticulture and business, or horticulture and economy. I had a few comments and requests, compliments, even very few complaints on the video where I was talking about using plants to make a living. So I'd kind of like to continue on that, and I'm going to refrain from titling this one Horticulture and Capitalism, because I know if I put the word capitalism out front, they're just going to dive right on top of me. I don't really understand all of this, frankly. This is the country we live in. That's our economic system. But, all I have to do around here is say EV and I get stomped. If I say women have rights to their bodies, I get stomped. If I dare say that anybody with any sort of sexual identity is like okay with me, we should leave these people alone to their lives, I get stomped. So I'll get stomped for talking about capitalism too, I'm sure. There's a lot of people out there that got more opinions and belief systems than they actually have facts or analysis. And there is a problem there, because I usually try to deal with facts as I see them. I try. I don't always make it, but it's an awful lot of facts out there today. I'll tell you what, I make mistakes too, but I'm afraid that most of the attacks I seem to get are based on opinions generated from belief systems, and they haven't got anything really to do with facts. Belief systems and opinions are not facts, okay? Not necessarily. They can be, sometimes. Anyhow, we live in a capitalistic system of economy. Now, capitalism by its nature, it really coincides and parallels with Darwinism quite nicely. I just said Darwin, now I'm going to get attacked again by the creationists, right? Yeah, okay, sure. They got opinions, but the concept of the survival of the fittest and the dog eat dog and the strong survive and all that stuff, it's not all necessarily correct. But our system of economy does tend to fall into a sort of competitive situation where if you could run fast enough, you can catch them, it's like that. And so it is very much natural in a way. It appeals to that, major motivating factor in human life, greed. Yes, capitalism is based often on greed, wanting more than you currently have, and being able to get it if you know how to do it. It is possible to utilize the system without being greedy, without being destructive. It is entirely possible to have capitalism with a conscience, is what I have always called it. It is our form of economics. And I know when I grew up there in the 1950s, they were trying to put all the socialists and communists in jail. They didn't like those ideas, Stalin and Lenin really kind of messed things up over here for that. McCarthy hearings, in other words, is what I'm referring to. After the 60s, there was the hippie thing, and we had these communes forming, and people trying to get away from currency exchange systems and talking about bartering, and, bartering came back around and so on. People were trying to live in communal settings where they were sharing things, and, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, there are some aspects of communism that probably make some sense, but I don't think they make nearly as much sense as capitalism. They're not as sustainable because greed, which you will never get rid of, Okay. Greed drives capitalism, but greed is often what kills communism. It's as a younger man, I was influenced by people who were talking about, trying to get away from the greed in our economic system, trying to share things more evenly in our societies and so on. And of course, that's where I acquired the concept of sustainability. And to me, for capitalism to function, it has to also be sustainable capitalism. When you could look at what you're doing to make money and you can see the inevitable end of it coming at you, it's a pretty good chance that you have run it to the limit. And if it happens to be extraction that you're making your money on, like cutting down trees or digging up minerals and so on, well, that's not sustainable unless you have a full circle approach to it. Now, we can't put back the coal we dig. No, although we can find alternatives. Of course, I'll get stomped for that, too, because that's kind of where we're at right now. It's not the first time we had people in charge in the government who were trying to get us to turn to more sustainable and alternative ways of generating energy. We're deeply in the process of it right now, and people are fighting it tooth and nail. All I have to do is say, I like my EV, and oh man, boom, they pile on me. It's Biden's stuff, we want coal. We love to smoke oil. Yeah, that's what it's like. It feels like from here. People are thoroughly and completely addicted to fossil fuels, a lot of them, and can't get off of it. But away from all of that, I have said in the past that there's two main differences within our society. We have producers and we have consumers. Most Americans are consumers. If we produce anything other than children and disposable diapers, if we produce anything, we're usually producing for someone else. We have a job with a corporation, we're making cars, and, we're getting a fair wage for what we're doing, all right? But we're pretty much entrapped within this system when we do that. Now, there are the producers, and the producers are the ones that, generally speaking, will produce more of something than they consume. When you're in a situation of where you're the producer, when the economy goes like it has now, where prices are getting pretty crazy, things are going expensive, you never know what it's going to cost from day to day and so on. Well, if you're the consumer, you haven't got much choice most of the time but just to tighten up your belt, bite it and take it. You can go on strike if you're unionized. You can appeal for more money to your bosses. There are a few other things you can do. But in most cases, what you will do if you're the consumer is going to amount to something pretty close to begging, whether it's legal begging on a contract or what. You're going to go to somebody who's in charge of your situation, and you're going to ask him, please, Mr. Boss, you give me more money because I cannot afford to live under this economy. That's kind of how it works. I've been there. Yeah, I worked in corporate America many years. On the other hand, when you are the producer and you are producing more than you consume in general, so that your balance sheet tends to be in the black rather than the red, no matter what the situation is, well, then you have control. You don't go to Mr. Bossman and say, oh, Bossman, you give me more money. No, you don't have to do that. What you do is you change your rate. Now, whether you're selling your time, you increase the wage per time. If you're selling pineapples are up this year, man. I'm sorry. It's going to cost you more. Why? Well, because everything is costing more. But the producer has that control. Now, it's not 100%. And maybe, depending on how much you produce, if you only produce a little bit, well, you can kind of offset the inflation as you consume. But if you produce a lot, or if you tend to produce considerably more than you actually consume, then things start to look really good in your favor. And when I talk about producing, I'm not just talking about building cars or growing cabbages. I'm also talking about energy systems. Yeah, we got a few things in this world that there is no way we can live without. Water and air, top of the list. Air first, water second. Food is somewhere right after that. We got to have air, we got to have water, we got to have food. Right next to that, energy today. Energy. Everything runs on it. No matter whether it's coal, diesel, gasoline, solar, natural gas, blah, 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 hydrogen. Everything runs on energy. You've got no internet. You don't have any smartphones, no technology, no rocket ships, no nothing. You don't even have an old beat-up pickup truck when you don't have energy. So it's almost as important to the modern world as things like water and air. And, well, so far, some of the air in our country isn't the best, but so far we're not having to pay for it. Now, if you're in downtown Tokyo tracking traffic, you probably have a bottle on your waist where you're breathing oxygen. Sadly, there are places in the world where air isn't that easy to get. I understand the Japanese have vending machines. We're back to facts again. I remember picking this up from somewhere, but don't necessarily stake me on it. I do seem to recall seeing this. They have some terrible air problems in Tokyo. So one way, 2 ways, 3 ways, to liberate yourself from these situations is, well, one, now I'm an agriculturalist, all right, I do horticulture, so every piece of land I've ever owned, no matter how big or how small, whether it was a city lot in California or it was a full-scale farm in Wisconsin, it's always been told, my land has always been told, you must pay for yourself, baby. Yep. I do not let my property get away with just sitting around, getting fat and lazy and doing nothing. No. I give it a real good swift kick in the chops and I say, let's go, come on. And so I'll come up with some way that the land can work. There's always some way that the land can work. You'd be surprised. And I'm not going to tell you, exactly what and how. Use your creative imagination. Some of you are not even interested in land at all. Most of you, I think, if you're listening to this channel, you probably are inclined towards gardening, farming, plants, and so on. Probably inclined towards self-sufficiency and sustainability. Right there, Gracie? My cat just came to see me. He's right down here. So, if you do even just gardening, increase the size of it if you can, begin to produce. The old gardener once told me when I asked him, hey there, Vic, how many of these do you think I should plant? And Vic said, 1 for the weather, 1 for the bugs, and 1 for the gardener. Made sense to me. That meant I always had probably at least 1, because you seldom ever have a complete crop failure. And so I was covered. But when it was a good year and all 3 came in, well, that means I had 2 to get rid of. And I generally will plant more than 3 of anything. So you're always going to have extra stuff. Maybe one year the cabbages are a crop failure, but the sweet corn's good. Maybe one year it's tomatoes, and next year it's apples. Who knows what it is, but all of this is worth money. It's all worth money. When we approach our lives going, well, I'll just putter around with this, and I'll have, some fun out in the garden, and I find it relaxing and so on. Yet when I'm in the nursery business, I frequently hear people tell me how expensive gardening is. And I kind of look at them like, huh? I make a living from gardening. I don't know what you're talking about. In other words, it's a reverse for me. This is a production thing. It's not a consumption situation. And that mostly amounts to just really growing more than I need, whether it's the little plants in the nursery, like the tomato plants right now, or whether it's, I guess sweet corn I just put out, Ellen's pineapples. Always got way more than we need, and it's all worth money. Last year the pineapples are going for probably about $6 a pound. Now, I didn't even set that. We sold ours for less because we sold them out wholesale, and that's fine because we didn't have to do anything but pick them up out of the field, bring them to the driveway, and they left. But my suggestion is don't do anything halfway. Don't just say, I'm just going to kind of mess around with this and see. No, take your life on, grab it by the horns. Grab that thing and go, okay, this looks interesting. Let's take it for a ride. And if you do, and you put your heart into it, you put your mind into it, most likely it's going to succeed, and it will start coming back at you with income, with results. When something pays you, it's most likely not going to stop or reach an end. There's a pretty good chance if Google didn't pay me for these videos, I probably would have quit years ago, because I take an awful lot of abuse for no good reason, just because I'm here and I smile, and there are people out there that don't like people that smile, and there's certainly people out there that have their own thoughts on what life is all about and don't borrow them from other people. So I get beat up for being here. I'm pretty tough, and I know who the heck I am, so I survive it. But it's not necessarily always fun, and if I wasn't getting paid for doing this, I probably would have shut it down a long time ago. I probably would have. I wouldn't be here, and the people who tell me, that'd be terrible. Well, the others, a whole bunch more that got to say, good, I'd love that butthead to get out of my face. I don't want to see him. It's like looking at Donald Trump. So aiming at producing as opposed to consuming, or at least aiming at one segment of your economy as being an area of production, whether it is pen and ink still lifes, cabbages, rebuilt carburetors for old Chevrolets, I don't know. It could be anything. Here, I tend to focus on natural living things, okay? I love living things. Why? Because they are self-replicating. That's the best part about it. Oh, man, the day we get self-replicating machines, we're probably all in trouble. Okay. For the meantime, though, nature does a real good job of expanding itself. It's one of the reasons I am here with all of this. Because years ago, I looked at it. I pulled the seed out of a pepper. I took the seed, I put it in the flower pot, and I made another pepper plant. And I went, huh? Really? Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of energy in nature, and all we have to do is connect our mental energy to it, give it a certain direction, certain plan, put it to work. It rolls like a flywheel. The thing builds on itself. After a while, people get to see me as a dude who's got plants, a guy who's got seeds, a guy who's got information. Well, it flywheeled. It's a snowball. I can't shut down easily around here. If I do, they're parked out at the gate calling me on the cell phone going, "Are you still open?" Yeah, people get to rely on it. Taking the situation trying to figure out how to be producing more than you're consuming so you can gain some control in our economy. That is where your control comes from. Those who hold the water, those who have the food, those who produce the energy, those are the guys that rule the earth, man. The rest of us, we're just, oh, please, can I have some water? Oh, you have a little energy to spare. That's really how a lot of our lives are. We're just, oh, please, come on. Oh, I'll pay anything for it. This I saw so many years ago because, I graduated high school on the A honor roll. Yep. I was a 3.9 student in college. So I did very well academically as a person, but it was somewhere in high school that I suddenly realized that I wasn't actually there because they wanted me to get an education as much as I was there to be socialized. They had rules and regulations and things you should and should not do, cannot do. A lot of it was ridiculous. Those were the years where we had things like dress codes. A girl's skirt was too short. Oh, Lordy. I was always in trouble for walking around in blue jeans without a belt in, no socks on, wearing sandals. Okay? And having my hair too long and being unshaven. Those were all violations at my school. Yeah. And I'd get busted for it all the time. And so it was these minor, stupid, nitpick things where they were trying, I could see what they were doing. They were trying to get me to socialize to be just one more gray worker drone. Yes, another one of the worker bees who's going to go up to the punch clock in the line with Fred and John and everybody else in their lunch pails in a gray work clothes and punch the card and go, see you Monday, Fred, And man, that terrified me. I said, oh, that is so gray. That is so empty. That is not a life. This is what they're training me for, is to be, passive, to be subservient to the boss, And when I saw that part of it, I said, look, dudes, I came here to get educated. I want to know about science. I want to know about mathematics. I want to know about auto shop, okay? I want to know about art and music. I don't give a darn about how you want to socialize me. Get off my back. Finally, the last year I was in high school, they let up on a lot of that. And so I kind of let up. But in the meantime, boy, I had gotten such an attitude towards some people, that I just started acting out because I was angry. Yeah, I was angry at them. Throw me out of school for 3 days when I want to get an education because I wasn't wearing socks. I don't like wearing socks. And you can't make me wear socks. Well, they tried. And it really ticked me off. And I never put up with it. And in fact, it changed my entire life because I have said many times, and I'll continue to say it, I live on the same planet with the rest of you, but I do not live in the same world. Because most of the people who were around me in my school days, they went off down the line that the school wanted them to follow. And they got good jobs, and they got families, and they got a Christmas tree, and 2 chickens in every dog and a car in every pot, the old American dream. But, I got a car, chickens, kids, too. So... yeah, I got all that junk too, but they never did manage to get my mind. That never happened. No, they never did. So the idea of making and producing more directly into the economy, no matter what it is, than you are consuming, will shift everything. The day you become a producer, you are on the other side of our economy, and you're on the other side of our tax system. Yep. Once you get on the inside of the IRS system, you begin to realize something real fast. When you're making money, this country supports loss. Yes, the IRS is written on the idea that you invest, you incur loss, and that loss actually is tradable for profit. Yeah, so Making loss is not a bad thing whatsoever, and depending on how you work the whole thing out and how it shows on paper, it can be a really good thing because it can negate a lot of money that came into the coffers at the same time. Yeah, the game is written for those who produce. Yes, it is. Major corporations oftentimes pay almost no taxes at all, sometimes even without going offshore to do it. It's possible within the tax codes here to be able to get away without paying taxes. You can do it. It depends. It has to do with how much loss on investment you incur. That's really how that works. But it's only those folks who are, stuck as being totally consumers, and you end up filing, the 10, the easy forms. You get shafted. Yeah, they just take it from you. That's it. You got no control, no way to take it back. But you can get yourself in a situation where the taxes actually can be an almost profitable situation, but you have to be a producer to see this. The entire code, the whole economy is written on the basis and to the benefit of people that produce stuff. The rest of you, all you do is just support the producers. That's pretty much how it works. And, as I said, complaining about my school system, the school system socialize us to be the sort of worker drones that are going to go in and continue to support those that are producers and basically take it. That's it. There's no way out of it. Once you get yourself trapped in the American dream and you roll yourself down in deep in debt and you buy yourself a house and a car and send the kids to college, man, you are so tied down to the platform. There ain't no way up. Then there's the other look too, and that is that oftentimes when I used to stop in on permaculture courses and horticulture courses in Oakland at the college sometimes and teach some classes to the students. And these were mostly younger people. Man, the word capitalism for them was a spit word. They hated it when I brought that up. The word profit made them sick. Yet they live in an economy that's based on profit and making money. And I mean, it's insane. It really is. I think their problem is more with greed, but they have not figured out how to separate the fact that you can make money without having to be overtly greedy. I need almost nothing. I want even less. Yet I make money all the time. But I make money all the time without even hardly thinking about it or looking at it. That's the key. When you get yourself into the right situation, the money makes itself. You don't even think much about it. I got to check on things. There's stuff I got to do. It's not a complete dream, so to speak. But yeah, you can get it so that things operate more or less like a gumball machine. That's my economic philosophy, is that nickel at a time, dime at a time, dropping into the slot, and it just doesn't stop. The nickels keep falling in. So like dividend stocks, for instance, there's a situation. These videos, it's not a lot of money I get from these ads, but it's dropping in constantly with every one of them I make. It falls in, and it falls in a steady stream. And a few of the videos I did 10 years ago are still dropping money. Yeah, people are still looking at some of them. Most of them, though. Well, it's a gumball machine thing. Dime at a time. Unfortunately, I do believe that most Americans that I'm familiar with, we're into the big score. We love Las Vegas. We buy lottery tickets. We keep sitting around hoping that we're going to have a rich uncle pass away one of these days and all our problems will be solved. Well, who knows, 1 in a million or something, that does happen to. It happens to a few people occasionally. But if you look at a lot of the lottery winners, what you find out is that those poor people, man, they weren't ready for that money, and they oftentimes end up, drug addicted, ripped off, who knows, having to hire lawyers. A lot of times their lives get miserable. Yep. Right, Gracie? She says, yeah. They get miserable when they got more than just cat food. Yeah, that's what she says. Yeah. And so the whole concept of the big score, the gold rush, right? We're in another gold rush in California today because all the rain. It's washing stuff out of the hills again, folks. You can go out and pan. It's cool, panning for gold. I think I'd like to try it myself, especially if I came up with some. But, I don't need it. It'd more be the interest in the pretty shiny metal than anything else, I think. But... yeah, we're into the big score. And that's a problem for us because most of us never make that big score. Yet we put all our eggs in that basket. And this is what we believe. Like I said, we get tied down into the American nightmare, in debt, can't dig our way out, realize there's only one way we're going to get ourselves out, and that's going to be that, an elephant bird full of money is going to fall out of the sky into our driveway. And the elephant bird, usually when it drops, tends to drop bird turds. So, yeah, it's adjusting our thinking as people so that we can appreciate those tiny inputs that never stop, like a dripping faucet that ends up costing you $5,000 a year in lost water at the end of the year because you didn't fix it. That's how the economy tends to work. The rich generally do not work for a living. They work at the gym. They work in the pool, but they don't work for a living. They tend to invest, and frequently they invest with other people's monies, and they invest in ideas that may not even be their own, or maybe they are their own, but it's a matter of putting money behind something else. It's not about the back. It's not about the Christian work ethic. The vast majority of us in this society that are below a certain strata and have gone through the public education systems, we've got this concept that the upper Midwesterners used to call it the Christian work ethic, as if, idle hands are the devil's workshop. And so a good God-fearing Christian will go, yes, boss, yes, give me more work to do. Put it on my back, sir. I will haul more coal for you. That's BS. Working's fine. We need it. Yeah, I do it for a pastime. Work is my exercise. Work is what keeps me healthy and alive. Work is good for my mind. No matter what kind of work it is. I don't dig coal, that's for sure. Frankly, this is work. It is. It's something I need to do. So it's an obligation to myself that I'm going to get this accomplished. As long as you find that work for you is a pastime, or at least a required activity for health, but not necessarily for income, you're getting into a good situation. When choosing a career occupation, I usually will side with the quote from Margaret Mead, the famous anthropologist, who was once asked by a reporter, when a person is looking towards a career in life, what would be the best way to choose one? Well, her answer was, you do the thing that you would have been doing anyway for nothing. And that usually works out quite well. Not everybody can get that situation, but if you're creative enough and if you realize that you need to be in control of your economy, you don't want to be having to answer back to somebody else who is a producer, because then you lose control. You've lost control when you do that. You've given yourself away. And so choosing something that you might have been doing anyway, that's the best road you can find. It can lead to the same situation I exist in these days, where I have no hobbies. Hobbies, paid vacations, unemployment compensation, etc., overtime, all bourgeois myth. Yeah, they're just myths that keep people at the treadmill grinding away. The reason I have no hobbies is because if there is something that I'm doing that isn't fitting into the economic machine that I built for myself, then I get rid of it. I don't do anything just for the heck of it. It's going to have to be, hey, it tastes good, I can sell these, and boy, it's fun doing this thing, you know? It's multifaceted kind of a situation with almost everything. I used to paint, still lifes. I drew cartoons. I did a lot of art when I was younger. I'd been encouraged to go to art school by my teachers. They wanted me to go there. They said, Bill, you're good. You pursue it. Well, I couldn't see how I was going to make money drawing Coke bottles. It just didn't score for me. So I didn't pursue it. There's a whole lot of things. As you know, once in a while I pop in with my guitar and sing a song or two. Some people like it. Other people tell me, don't quit my day job, which I don't have. I'm retired, so I don't know what they're talking about. But, there was a day, I guess, back when I used to play 8 hours a day every day of the week, and work out, that I was pretty sharp. These days, I'm very rusty. I just play music because I like it. If you like it, good. But the music is no longer the main course of my income, whereas it once was. Now, it's just there because I use it on this channel. I have to declare taxes to the IRS because of the Google payments. And so the music is part of my income because it's on this channel. And because it's part of my income, I get to write off my guitars with the IRS. Okay? Yeah, you starting to get the idea? It depends on how smart and creative you are about approaching our economy. You can use capitalism to your advantage. It's an excellent tool. It's a real good way to manage an economy because it fits into a natural profile quite nicely. And just getting over the idea that capitalism has to be greedy, that it has to be evil, that it has to be at all cost, and that the idea is you must dominate. That tends to be, there's a lot of capitalism like that. I admit it, I agree it. But, as a young kid, I was going the same route as a lot of others were about trying to move away from this, greedy society we lived in. And I realized pretty quick, I didn't get any advantages of the society as long as I opposed it. The day that I began to accept it, work with it on my terms to my advantage, I began to gain advantages from it. So, I hear people all the time claiming, "Oh, Bill, you're supporting Biden. You're a government guy. You're working for the government, so on." I had a guy one time, probably one of the millennials or something, saying that my generation, the boomers, we don't question anything. He said, "Don't you boomers question anything?" Of course we do. We question more things than most generations that existed throughout the 20th century, at least. Yeah, we question most everything, to be honest with you. A whole lot of the stuff that them Christians are trying to turn around right now. Abortions, women's rights to their body, rights to whatever your sexuality, stuff that's being opposed right now by conservative fundamentalists. This is all the product of questioning things in the 60s, man, the 50s. Yeah, we changed the world. Now there are people trying to change it back again. It's kind of sad. It really is. Going backwards is not the way we need to go. We need to be going forwards. We need to be looking at things and making them better all the time. And as far as I'm concerned, the greater the freedom for all individuals, the better. Yeah, so. Hang loose, folks. Aloha. Until later.